Hello, my name is Matthew Marvin. I also go by the Poker Gypsy. Welcome back to Justice Junkeez. We appreciate your support. Got a special guest on today, but before we get into the guest, got to get into the producer. Who's producing the show today?
Me, my name's Lana. Hi, guys.
And what do you do here at the studio, Lana?
I'm a producer, an engineer, and an editor. But right now, I'm just the engineer. We kind of like switch levels a little bit, so I'm head of engineering.
But now, don't you do a show?
I do. I have a show called Laughing with Lana. It's a comedy podcast that it talks about everything and absolutely nothing all at the same time.
Okay, so who would win in a roast battle, you or John Orlando?
Me.
Oh.
1,000%. You ain't got to question it.
All right.
Don't question me. I got this.
All right, so on to our guest today. We have Marvin Orlando. Now, that's on father's side or mother's side?
Well, to be honest with you, the Orlando name is a name that was taken on by my former brother-in-law, Tony Orlando.
Okay.
And his real name is Michael Casavides.
Okay.
But his full name is Michael Anthony Orlando Casavides.
Really?
So what he did is he took the two middle names,
Yeah.
Tony Anthony Orlando, and then became Tony Orlando.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
My real name is Lashever.
Really?
Yeah, Marvin Lashever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
And John is John Casavides.
Yeah.
It's not John Orlando. It's a name. That
So it's more like a Hollywood name, basically.
it's a Hollywood name.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's a legal name. But
Yeah.
It's a Hollywood name.
So did you get to babysit John when he was growing up?
Funny story about John. I'm going to tell it to you real quick.
All right.
John's mother. Now remember, Tony was my former brother-in-law.
Yep.
John's mother, my sister-in-law. I had a liquor store in the Bronx, in New York. Tony and Elaine is John's mother, lived in Fort Lee, New Jersey, right over the George Washington Bridge. When Elaine was pregnant with John, she broke her water, and she couldn't get a hold of Tony because he was recording in Manhattan. So she called me at the liquor store in the Bronx, which is only about a 20 or 25-minute drive to their house. She calls me up, frantic, and says, I just broke my water. I can't get a hold of Tony. Can you come and get me? I got to go to the hospital. Well, I dropped everything. And I got into my car, and I drove to New Jersey, over the bridge. And by the time I got to their house, Tony had just pulled up in a cab.
Huh.
And so we rushed upstairs, grabbed Elaine, put her in the car. I drove him to the hospital. We went into the hospital room, the emergency room. They grabbed Elaine. They rushed her to give birth. And Tony and I went into the waiting room. And we figured, okay, let's light up a couple of cigarettes. We got a little bit of a wait.
Yeah.
10 minutes later,
That fast.
John was born. I was the first one to hold John.
Aw.
Other than his father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know John
So-
all his life.
Was he a good kid? Was he a little bastard at times?
He was-
Did he mess with you at all?
He was really a good kid.
Really?
He's always been a good kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no jokes on Uncle.
Yeah, he pulled a lot of shit on me. I remember one time, John started out in his early 20s as a comedian. You know, when Tony had his theater in Branson, Missouri, John was Tony's opening act. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but John was his opening act at the theater.
Yeah.
So he was a terrible comedian. Terrible. It was not funny at all. But he got a lot of gigs because of the relationship with his father and his father knowing everybody. Well, one day, I'm a private pilot. So one time he was performing in upstate New York, and he was John. John was performing. He was the opening act for Paul Anka.
Huh.
And I didn't want to miss this, so I got into my plane, and I surprised John by showing up at the show.
Yeah.
And I had just had, about 2 or 3 weeks earlier, I had a massive heart attack.
Jeez.
I had 5 bypasses, but my recuperation was really quick.
Yeah.
So right after the operation, and I was feeling okay, I got into the plane, and I flew to, it was close to Buffalo, New York. I don't remember exactly where.
So no tolls.
No toll, not in the airplane. No, there's no gas stations either up there.
Gee.
So he's on stage, and he introduces me from the audience, from the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet my uncle Marvin. 3 weeks ago, he had a massive heart attack. He had 5 bypasses. And he says, Uncle Marvin, come on up stage. So I went up stage,
Yeah.
And he says to everybody, ladies and gentlemen, this is my Uncle Marvin. God bless him. But his operation, his heart attack, cost me $500,000.
Yeah.
And everybody was so puzzled,
Yeah.
And he says, he lived.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So, yeah, John and I have been very close. John is more like my son than he is my nephew.
Yeah.
Aw.
Okay.
Yeah.
He acts like it too.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Tony can sing, right? So,
Tony has a great voice. Yeah.
so what did you get out the deal? You the better looking brother, bigger dick, better fighter? What?
Bigger dick. I've stood next to the urinal next to him, so I know that. No, but I know Tony before he was Tony Orlando.
Yeah.
Before he was, a big entertainer.
Yeah.
And we had a great relationship. Growing. I know Tony since I'm 17 years old.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 80. That's a long time. That's a lifetime.
Yeah. 2 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes for some people that didn't even make it that far. Yeah.
Yeah, so we go back a long time. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm so glad he made it big, and I worked with him, traveling on the road and for years. I was flying my plane and he was, going commercial. They won't fly with me.
Really?
Yeah, they don't trust me.
Why don't they trust Marvin to fly?
They're afraid. It's a small plane. It's a Volkswagen with wings.
Yeah. But if I would put my hands in anybody's life, I figure it'd be someone who's like my brother.
Yeah, but they don't.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna get into it a little bit more, but who is Marvin?
Great question.
A pimp.
Very colorful life.
Okay.
Very colorful.
Okay. And now one of the reasons we definitely had to get you on the show today is because you were a Holocaust survivor.
That's correct.
But there is also a war in Israel going on right now.
Right.
Do you want
unfortunately
any comments on that, or should we skip that one? Or
no, it's fine.
what do you think about the current situation, I guess, is the question.
Well, as far as the current situation is concerned, how can you make peace when your opponent wants to annihilate you?
It's not going to work. It's all
they
defense.
want to destroy you.
Yeah.
For centuries. This has been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
Don't forget, the Israeli people have had that country for over 4,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Judea.
Yeah.
Right? Before it was called Palestine.
Yeah.
But all they want, I wear this medallion.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the Star of David on it.
And what does it say?
And it says Shalom.
Mm-hmm.
The word Shalom is our Hebrew and Jewish saying for hello, peace. It has every positive meaning you can think of.
Right.
And when even in the Arab countries, they say Alechem Shalom.
Mm-hmm.
We say Shalom Alechem. Peace be with you.
But now Judaism is the older religion.
Judaism.
Judaism.
Judaism, the Jewish calendar goes back 5,870 some odd years.
Jeez. Yeah. So a lot has derived from that religion.
Absolutely, everything is derived from that. We were the first Orthodox religion,
Yeah.
I think, formed. I mean, I haven't done my history, but I think we're older than the Chinese, and I think we're older than the Christians for sure. You know, Christianity is only, what, 2,100 years old,
Yeah.
right? Muslims,
Yeah.
they're only about 1,800 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so everything was a derivative of Judaism.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jesus Christ, who we believe in, we just don't believe he was the Messiah.
Yeah.
We believe in him. He was a rabbi. He was a teacher. Okay, he had, some problems with the hierarchy, the Jewish hierarchy during those biblical times.
Yeah.
But that's hearsay and book writing and stories and.
Yeah.
But we do believe in Jesus Christ. We just don't believe he was the Messiah. We're waiting for our Messiah to show up.
So what does Israel have? Is it a king? Is it a president? Who's
a democratic society?
a democratic? So who is it? A president
President, yeah.
of Israel?
Right.
Okay. So if Marvin was a president of Israel after this war is over, let's say, would you go back to being a peaceful nation? What would you do differently?
They've always been a peaceful nation.
Right. And
That's
they've
all they
always getting
want.
attacked.
They're always getting
So
attacked.
would you change that, or like, no, just keep it the
What do
same?
you want to change? I mean, Israel gave the Hamas the Golan Heights.
Mm-hmm.
They gave them the Gaza Strip
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted peace. They
So it was
cut
a
out
peace
from-
agreement, and they just kept taking and taking and taking.
They keep throwing missiles in. They keep.
Kind of like the U.S. and the Indians keep taking.
I mean,
and
how
taking
would you
and-
like it if Green Valley, right, was shelling Las Vegas,
Yeah.
right, and they wanted to annihilate Las Vegas? What do you want to do? You're going to sit there and wait for them to come into Las Vegas and kill innocent civilians,
No.
kids, children, mothers,
Pretty
women,
sad situation over there.
old people, Holocaust survivors
Yeah.
who lived through the worst Nazi bullshit?
So, but that's what I'm saying. It seems like throughout history, the peaceful people have always been a target. It seems like by the Jewish people, the Nazis, now Iran,
right.
and it's like
Exactly. They're fanatics. They're absolute fanatics. They want, but they want to also annihilate you.
yeah.
They don't want you to live. They hate Jews.
So it's like some people want peace, but realistically, it's probably never going to happen worldwide.
Well, listen, this war right now going on.
Yeah.
Why is this war going on? Because Iran wanted to break up the Saudi Arabia peace accord that they were going to have with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to break that up. They don't want peace in the Middle East.
So everybody wants war and slavery, basically.
Exactly. To what effect? I have no idea why. I
Yeah.
have no idea why. Isn't it better to make love than war?
That's what they say. Yeah.
It's so
But-
much easier.
Yeah. But I guess with war, some people get to take your women, So that's
It's about power.
yeah.
It's all
what it's always been about.
power.
Sad. And it's all men. It's always men. It's never though, because we were waiting on it, right? We're waiting for basically women to dominate the world and take care of us and come home and fuck us 3 times a day, right? Like,
So what's your point?
all right. So before the Holocaust happened, I guess, where was your family stationed? Because I heard they came out of Germany and then they started conquering lands and they even made it some far countries. So
Right.
where were you guys at?
September 1939, the Nazis invaded Poland.
Yeah.
I was born in Krakow, Poland in
Okay.
1944 during the war.
Okay.
The war had already gone on for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were born into war.
I was born into war.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then we got captured. I'm the last generation of the actual Holocaust survivors.
Jeez.
My generation is the last one.
Yeah.
We got captured.
So were you born in the ghetto, or no? They moved you
I was born
in
free.
regular
I mean,
house.
we were running. I mean, they were hiding. They were running.
Born on the run,
My
basically.
parents, yeah.
Wow.
And I was born on the run.
Yeah.
And after I was born, we got caught. We got captured, and they put us on the cattle car, and we were on our way to Auschwitz. Now, Auschwitz was a work camp. When the train entered Auschwitz, there was a big sign overhead that said, Arbeit macht frei, which means work sets you free. Okay? So it was a work camp.
Yeah.
When our train pulled into Auschwitz, now I'm telling you a story because I was an infant.
Right.
I'm telling you stories that my parents related to me. So when we pulled into Auschwitz, it was a year before the war ended. So that camp was packed.
Yeah.
There was no more room. So they put us back on the cattle car, and they sent us to Treblinka.
Yeah.
Now, Treblinka, which is northeast of Auschwitz, closer to the Russian border, was a death camp. That's where they threw us into the ovens and killed us, and gas chambers and all that. Well, that's where they were sending us. And we got back on the cattle car, and as train was going along, at that time the Russians had already invaded Poland, pushing the Nazis back, and they already made it from Russia into Poland, and they were bombing all over the place. Well, they also bombed the tracks that we were on, and our train derailed. And my father grabbed me and my mother. We ran into the woods and we escaped.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so after the escape from the woods, then what? Then you found...
The safest place to go to was into Russia because the Russians were already pushing west.
Jeez, yeah.
So we pushed in east. We went east.
Yeah, smart.
And figured, my father said, let's go east. Let's go to Russia.
Yeah.
Because it's already, the war is pushing west. So we went to Russia, we went through Siberia, we went to Moscow, we were all over the place.
So you traveled for a good portion of your childhood.
They walked all the way.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What's the earliest memory that you have?
I remember this high snows in Siberia.
Yeah.
I was like maybe a year old. I remember cold. I remember really cold. I remember my legs were frozen. They were going to amputate my legs. Really? Because I had frostbite. But we were in Moscow, and during the war still, and they revived me, and it was fine. Yeah. Okay. We finally ended up after the war, we ended up in a place called Poking, Germany, Poking, Poking, Germany. There were 3, they called them at that time DP camps, displaced persons camps, which were nothing more than refugee camps for Jews. And there was 2 American camps and 1 Russian camp. We were fortunate we made it to a American camp. Really? But it was nothing more than a concentration. It had the barbed wire around, you know. It was free inside, but it was still, you couldn't leave.
Still limited,
we were there for 2.5 years.
And there was no going back home even after the war, right?
Who wanted to?
Yeah.
They didn't want to. They didn't want to. America had closed off the quota for Jews to come to the United States. So the only option that was left for us was to go to Canada. So in November of 1947, we ended up on a boat going to Halifax, Canada. We lived in Canada for about 10 years.
Jeez. So okay, I guess a question comes to my mind is how do you keep up with all birth records and all
You
that?
don't, there's no records.
Jesus.
Matter of fact, I remember when I became the proud day I became an American citizen when I was 18 years old in New York. I went to the federal building, raised my right arm, and pledged allegiance, and tears came to my eyes.
But you have a birth certificate now.
No.
No birth certificate.
No. As a matter of fact, I had to go through hell to prove that we were.
Okay, so if you don't have a birth certificate, then passport. How do you get a passport?
We don't.
You can't. You're
have
not
to
allowed
go
to get a
You have to
passport.
go through immigration, which we did.
Yeah.
And they searched through the records from the DP camp in Germany.
They still have all that info.
They had all those records. So they knew we were refugees. And they granted me citizenship here because they had those records, so they knew where I was born.
Yeah.
And, but the records were only hearsay because it's what my parents told them,
Right. So it was from Canada to the United States.
Yeah, we had to wait for the quota.
Yeah.
Even Canada and America had quotas. So we landed in Canada, my father put his name on the list.
Yeah.
And it took almost 9 years for our number to come up. And then the minute the number came up, we wanted to move to New York because the rest of the family, whoever was left from the Holocaust, lived in New York.
Okay. So a question I have to ask you. So as a displaced person, I guess you should say, right, that's now an American citizen, how do you feel about the immigration stuff going on with Mexico and the United States now?
Shame. It's a crying shame.
Do you think we should let them in? Do you think there should be a better system?
How about illegal? Come in legal like we did. We waited 9 years.
Yeah.
What about all those Mexicans and the South Americans that put their names on quotas?
That went through it the right
they
way.
Went through the right way. And then, what you're getting is riffraff coming into this country.
Yeah.
We can't support all these people.
Yeah.
We can't.
No.
You have to have controls on everything.
No.
Immigration is a big one that you got to control.
Yeah.
How can you just open the door and say, come on in? Well, you see what's happening in New York. You see what's happening in Chicago.
Yeah.
You see what's happening in L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
You can't afford to let what is it now, up to 8 million?
I think it's like 20,000
illegal.
a day or something like
Listen,
that.
the key word here is not immigration.
Yeah.
It's illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Immigrants, I'm an immigrant.
Yeah.
I'm a legal immigrant.
Yeah. And you had to go through some waiting period to get that, right? A lot of paperwork and tape.
Absolutely. I love this country.
Yeah.
This country has given me every opportunity that one can have.
Yeah.
Okay? This is the best country, and I've been all over the world. I've traveled all over the world. Every time I come home, I kiss the ground when I come back here.
Okay.
I've seen how other people live.
Yeah.
Even in some, great countries.
Yeah. No, still can't touch America.
Nothing like this country.
So how was it growing up in America? Because, I mean, you came to America and you pretty much started in one of the worst damn places anybody could start, right? New York, Bronx, Brooklyn. How was that experience?
We came here June 14th, 1956.
Yeah.
We took the train from Toronto, Canada, to New York City.
Yeah.
And the reason I remember the date, it was on my birthday, June 14th. So I didn't know anything about, I was, 12 years old.
Yeah.
What did I know?
Yeah, and get thrown in New York. Wow.
Yeah. The first place we lived in was in Brooklyn, in an apartment.
Yeah.
And I went to school, and boy, did I get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Every single day, I got my ass kicked.
I mean, was it a racism thing? Was it a you being new thing?
No, it was
just New York.
It's just New York,
because one thing that really amazed me about New York when I visited, Russian Jews. I never knew Russian Jews existed.
That's only Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
Brighton Beach in Brooklyn.
I went to what is it called, Staten Island, and they were
There's
saying
a lot of Italians there.
yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of Jews and Italians.
And I figured out how well, obviously the Asians, the Chinese are taking over a lot now.
Yeah.
But I was told that they have like communities of Russian Jews basically have their own police system. Like they have basically like other Russian Jews who come handle it. They don't call the police. They come handle it and then they take you to the police. That was amazing to me.
Basically, the largest population of Russians
Yeah.
are in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. It's right next to Coney Island.
Yeah.
And they have their own community. They have...
That was amazing to me.
But you know what? It's nothing more than the Jewish ghettos in New York, the Italian ghettos in New York, the Polish ghettos in New York, Russian. You have eclectic communities all over New York.
Yeah.
But you got to learn how to get along with everybody.
That's got to be rough, though. I mean,
let me tell you, it was a rough childhood.
Jesus.
But an education... When they say you have a street education,
you really have to have one.
You have a street education.
You done been through Serbia and all these other countries, almost getting your legs amputated. New York, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. The upshot of it is, you know, after we went through all of that, my father was a very hardworking guy. We came to Canada penniless. I mean, we didn't, and I mean penniless.
Yeah.
Nothing. The Jewish Federation in Halifax gave my father $100 to start his life. But $100 back in 1947 was a couple of bucks. But that's it. We came with our clothes on our backs, and my father built up. He couldn't read, write, or speak English.
Jeez.
To the day he died. But he spoke, wrote, and read 7 other languages.
All except the English.
Nothing. He couldn't read English. Huh. It's never. He was busy working. He couldn't. You know, couldn't.
Well, you probably didn't really need it in New York anyway, right? Like you could probably get around without.
You did. You know, he made it through. You know, but my mother went to night school, learned English.
Really?
Yeah, she went to high school at night.
Yeah.
To learn English.
So, but English isn't your first language, is it, or is English your first language?
My first language is
really?
English. Yeah.
And is English the only language you speak?
No, I speak Yiddish too.
Okay.
Not Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew.
Right.
But I speak Yiddish.
Wow.
Which is the Ashkenazi, Jewish Ashkenazi.
Well, that had to help you in New York, right?
No.
There was no, really?
I grew up with Italians. I grew up with Jews.
Yeah.
I grew up with gangs.
Yeah.
You know, I was just a teenager. You know, I grew up with and in Brooklyn, I grew up with some people that, you know, we shouldn't talk about. But,
right. You
know.
Okay. And you did tell me that your father also passed away in New York, right? Yeah, he ended up getting shot.
My father was like I said, was a hard. He learned a new trade because in Poland, my father's family was very, very wealthy before the Nazis came in.
Yeah.
They owned, I don't know how many hundreds of acres of land, and they were farmers. And when we went to the DP camp, obviously we weren't going to get back to farms. So, but when we went to the DP camp, they taught him a new trade. He became a tailor. Excuse me. They became a tailor, and that's what his trade was, being a tailor.
Yeah.
And worked 3 jobs a day, 6 days a week. 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And built himself up. And I remember in Canada, we, you know, within 2 or 3 years, we had our own home. We bought our own home.
Hard work.
Hardworking. That's why I learned my work ethics from my father.
Okay. Were you ever able to get back in touch with family from the old country, or no? Everybody was just separated?
No, my father became reunited with his brother.
Really?
About 15 years after the war was over, the early 60s.
And was everybody spread out?
My uncle, my father's brother, was in Israel.
Really?
And, you know, one family member talked to another family member, talked to another family, and they all linked together, and there was a huge reunion. And
really?
Yeah.
Where was the reunion at?
New York.
So
Yeah.
everybody came
Everybody
to New
came
York.
to New York, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't have expected that. I would expect them.
No, everybody came to New York.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride.
Jesus. So, if you had to go back and do anything differently, I guess let's start at New York, right? Anything differently from New York on up, what would you have done differently?
I'll tell you the same thing I tell my 4 kids.
Okay.
Okay, now I have 4 children.
Uh-huh.
I have 6 grandchildren. I'll tell you the same thing I said to them. If I didn't do everything I did all these years,
Mm-hmm.
we would not be sitting here.
So no regrets.
None. There's some regrets, but nothing I would change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I did what I did.
Yeah.
You know, things happened the way they happened.
Yeah.
I've been up and down this roller coaster so many times.
Yeah.
I've been very successful. I've also had some failures,
Yeah.
but you learn from those failures.
Oh yeah.
You
If you're smart, you do anyway, right?
You don't do them again.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me, "What's your passion?" My passion is business. I
Whatever
don't care
puts food on the table.
business.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't care what business it is.
Yeah.
I've been in so many different businesses.
I was gonna ask you after New York, what? Okay, so dad passes away. You got to be the man of the family, right? So how did you? Where was after New York?
I moved to Chicago.
Gee, that's from one bad place to
yeah,
another.
right.
Jesus.
From the frying pan to the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved to Chicago in 1973. My father had property. He built it all. He owned a candy store first. And then we built the liquor store next door. We had a whole piece of, like a mini shopping center.
Yeah.
So one of the tenants had moved out. So the store was vacant. And I said to my father, let's open a liquor store. So we did.
Yeah.
And regretfully, but yeah, we opened a liquor store.
And you were how old then when y'all opened the liquor store?
I was 20.
Okay.
19, 20, somewhere in there.
You,
And
was it legal for you to drink then? Or not yet?
I didn't drink. No, New York, you had to be 21.
Really?
Yeah.
So before you was
But my
able to
father
drink.
had the license. My father got the liquor license.
Yeah. But it was your idea to open up a liquor
Yeah.
store before you could even were old enough to drink.
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
All right.
Now, before that, my father had a candy store.
Right. Right.
So, and all the money came from the terrific business he had.
Yeah.
And we had real estate and a whole bunch of little things, you know.
Okay.
And he became a very good businessman, my father, even though he couldn't read, write, or speak English. And I worked at a liquor store for 6 years, from 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight, every day, 6 days a week,
Chicago, New York.
in the Bronx. For 6 years. No vacations, no days off except Sundays.
Yeah.
And I did that for 6 years. Well, you eventually get burnout.
Yeah.
And I got burnt out.
Yeah.
And I told my father I wanted to get out of the business and he could have it and I'll go find something else to do. And I became a salesman.
Yeah.
And I went into the optical business,
Okay.
eyeglasses.
Yeah.
And I became a salesman selling frames, eyeglass frames, in New York and New Jersey. Okay. And I was such a good salesman, and after 4 months, they asked me if I would go to Chicago to become a sales manager. And I didn't know. I never went past west of the Hudson River. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I never went, you know, who the hell knew about Chicago? So I said to them I would try it for a month and see, you know, if I liked it or not. So I did. And I liked it. And I moved my family to Chicago.
So, who taught John how to sell? Because John's a pretty good salesman. Well, to me, anyway. He may not be to you, but who taught John how to sell? You taught John how to
Uncle
sell?
Marvin. Uncle Marvin.
He's pretty good at it. He's pretty good at it.
I got to tell you a quick,
Go for
funny
it.
story with John and I. Now, you know, Tony had a theater in Branson, Missouri. It was called the Tony Orlando Yellow Ribbon Music Theater.
Mm-hmm. Why Missouri though, of all places?
Branson is a huge.
So it's kind of like Memphis with. Oh, okay.
Yeah, theater after theater after theater after theater.
Yeah.
Andy Williams was there. Bill Tillis was there.
That.
There was a whole bunch of big artists. Bobby Vinton. I mean, there was a whole bunch of artists. Roy Clark. Anyway, so Tony had a 2,000-seat theater there. Huge. And John was like 19, 20. And John was Tony's opening act.
Yeah.
John comes to me and I spent a lot of time in Branson with them. John comes to me, he says, Uncle Marvin, I need some money. I said, for what, John? I want to open up a tanning salon. The location was right across the street from Tony's theater.
Mm-hmm.
It was a strip shopping center. I said, John, a tanning salon? Branson, Missouri in the summertime is 112 degrees.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes the size of elephants. Okay? I mean, it was just humid and hot. Who's going to come to this tanning salon? You can sit outside and get tan. He says, listen to me. It'll be great.
He sold you.
I says, what are you talking about? He says, listen to me. If nothing sells you, I'll tell you what the name of the tanning salon is going to be. I said, okay, I'll bite. What's the name? Orlando's Son.
Was Sanford and Son a thing back then? Is that what you get it
how much you need? And we opened up Orlando's Son Tanning. It did very well. It did very well. So yeah, I taught John business, and I taught, I took him under my wing, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've been in a few business ventures together.
All right. So speaking of tanning salons, right? What's your opinion on men painting their fingernails these days?
Sick. Why? I don't understand the tattoos.
It's a new fad. You don't want to come along with it?
Paint my fingers? Yeah. I don't think so.
All right. So I guess to get back a little bit deeper, Marvin, what's something about your childhood other than your father passing away that you could never forget? Something that lives rent-free in Marvin's head. A day you'll never forget.
Wow. I think it was my first child's birth.
Your first child's birth.
My daughter. Yeah, 1966. I was 21 years old. By the time I was 22, I had 2 kids already.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
You had to support them.
Yeah. What was special about the first kid's birth?
I was a child having a child.
How old were you?
21.
Oh, that's... Yeah, well... I don't know. I wouldn't call that a child, especially with all your experience, Marvin.
But at age 21, I didn't have that much. I worked...
Yeah. I guess when I look back and me 21 now, yeah.
Yeah, I went to college, I went through that whole thing. I was going to be a buyer at a department store. I graduated from a school called FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
And I got my merchandising degree, and I was going to be a big buyer, and $75 a week.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's what they paid, $75 a week.
Yeah.
I said, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
I could steal more than that.
Yeah. I don't think you did that bad, Marvin, because, I mean, man, I got to think all the stuff you've been through. When you were 21, that's probably an equivalent to somebody else being like 35 at least. You had a lot of life experience, though,
Yeah. I guess I did. I was very shy when I was that age.
Yeah?
Oh, my God, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, and that kind of
I
shocks
was
me, too.
withdrawn. I was shy.
Yeah, but you had a lot of accomplishments by that age as well, though.
Not yet. I didn't. Yeah, I had the liquor store, at that age, but...
What age did you get more confident at? Like with 30s, you think early 30s is what you really?
I have a
or
theory.
just
I have a
grows?
theory in life. In 20s, you learn. 30s, you practice what you learn.
Mm.
In your 40s, you start experimenting.
Mm.
In your 50s, you start making money.
Jeez. Okay.
I didn't start making money
Till
until I
50s.
was in my 50s.
Really?
Yeah.
All the stuff, all the businesses you done, no money
It was
till
all
50s.
learning. It was all making mistakes. It was all learning from your mistakes. It was all the ups and the downs. And like I said, I've been in, I don't know, maybe a dozen, 15 different businesses.
But now, do you think you was making good money at that age because of who you know, what you knew, or both?
What I learned through my life, I put to practice.
Yeah.
What my father taught me, how to run a business. My father taught me always put something on the side.
Yeah.
After you make it, 10%, 15%, 20%, because you never know.
Yeah.
One day that faucet turns off,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And if you got a little bit put on the side,
All right.
you can live through those rainy days.
Did you ever learn finances through other Jews? Because I think Jews have been historically good with finances throughout the years.
You know where that fallacy comes from?
Where?
Through history, and I'm going through biblical times, Jews were never allowed to be doctors or lawyers or accountants. They were always either the slaves, okay, or they worked for somebody else because they weren't allowed to be professionals.
Yeah.
So what did they have to turn to? They went out and bought a phone, okay? They paid $10 for it. They turned around and sold it for $15.
Mm-hmm.
They made the $5, right? They went back. They bought 2 phones. They invested another $5 to buy the 2 phones. Now they had 2 phones to sell, right? And then they sold those 2 phones. They made more profit, all right? And that's what they call business. Okay?
Okay.
And that's the only thing they had to turn to. They became the businessmen in biblical times. They had to. They had no other way to. They became the camel herders.
Yeah.
They became the bankers.
Yeah.
They still learned that once they had the money, they were able to lend it out and make interest on it.
Right.
Lending it out.
Okay, so what do you think about the fractional banking system these days that the banks do?
What do you mean?
Like how they lend it out?
It's changed a lot.
It is basically, I think it's 90% of the money is banks are allowed to create it, something like that.
Banks work on a float.
Right. And it's
When
basically
you're-
just all digits punched into a bank
They're
account
on a
these days.
point system.
Yeah.
Every day they can make 2 points on the dollar. They're
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, we have a Fed.
Right.
When you write a check to somebody, the Fed clears it that same night.
Yeah.
The bank doesn't clear it for 2 or 3 days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They call that the float.
Yeah.
They just made 2 or 3 points on that check you just wrote
Yeah.
because they're working with your money,
Right.
right? Banking has changed a lot.
Right.
In my day, I used to have a friend of mine who was the president of a bank.
Right.
On his signature, he would give me a line of credit
Yeah.
because we had a one-on-one relationship. He knew what my capabilities were.
Yeah.
He knew if I shook his hand and said, I'm going to pay you back,
Yeah.
charge me interest,
Yeah.
but I'm going to pay you back Sunday at 2 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? Well, Sunday at 1:45, I was there with the money,
Yeah.
okay? It was all handshakes. It was all promises. It was all, here's my signature.
Yeah.
Today,
They're checking my car insurance in order for me to get a loan. I'm like, what does my car insurance have to do
what
with a
is your
damn
credit?
loan?
It doesn't, it makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
But that's your government working, interfering with the whole democratic system
Yeah.
and capitalism. I feel sorry for this country right now.
What would you change, Marvin?
The whole democratic, the whole
Everything.
Democrats. I throw them all out.
Yeah.
I'd even throw some of the Republicans out too.
Would you keep the IRS and taxes and all
No,
that
they're
stuff?
gone. They would
Taxes,
be gone.
IRS is gone, right?
Gone.
What would you do about the dollar? Would you reback it with gold, or no? Those days are over.
Absolutely. I was in the jewelry business.
Yeah.
I dealt with gold all my life. I've been a jeweler for 45 years.
Yeah.
All right? The gold standard is the best system in the world. I don't understand this Bitcoin shit.
Yeah. It's
It's air.
yeah.
It's air.
Yeah.
What's it backed by?
Same numbers the bank gives you. Yeah.
Gold has always had a value.
Yeah.
There is an international market for gold. It's the same price all over the world. It's a standard.
Yeah.
Okay? Gold, I think, is like $1,840 today.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, that's what it's $1,840 an ounce. Well, that's what you got 10 ounces?
Yeah.
You got $18,000, that's what you got. You
Yeah.
can't print any more than the gold standard. I was in the jewelry business when the gold standard was still in place. Gold was $35 an ounce, but that's where it stayed.
Yeah.
Fort Knox, all the bricks of gold they had was $35 an ounce.
Yeah.
Today, who the hell knows what you got? You want money? Well, let's print up some more money.
Yeah.
Let's deflate the dollar some more.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Okay, so over the years, Marvin, I'm pretty sure you've seen history change and a lot has been lost. What is something about history that you think has been lost that the younger generation and future generations need to know, not forget?
Work ethics.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's that for a quick answer?
Yeah.
Right.
It's always going to work.
Work ethics.
Yeah.
They don't want to work.
Yeah.
How many help wanted signs do you want to see up and down the street?
A lot, and I don't know how people make it without jobs. Well, okay, there's that theory about in California where they're paying people to be homeless, but other than that,
What don't you call that socialism?
I don't know what they call it. I
Socialism.
I just know if I ever get down on my last dollar and I want to give up on life, I can go to California.
Listen,
Get paid $800 a
you
month.
can't be any poorer than we were when we came over from Europe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And what pulled us out of our shoestrings? Work.
yeah. Always.
Go
No
to
matter
work, you
which
son of a bitch. What the hell are you sitting home collecting money for?
Yeah,
You're not doing anything.
yeah,
First of all, you're not making yourself feel good.
yeah,
If you don't work, you don't achieve, you don't grow, you don't mature.
yeah,
The hell is wrong with you?
yeah. You're right. So how did you end up in Vegas? You was in Chicago and then Vegas, or you still bounced around a
I
lot?
was in Chicago. I had a huge jewelry business. I had a 4,000 square foot jewelry business.
Mm.
Huge. And I was making nice money.
Yeah,
And Tony, Orlando, asked me if I would, because he just got a gig here in Vegas, residency at the Golden Nugget. And he asked me if I would come out and help him run the show.
yeah,
So I had nothing to do. I had people working in the store, and I had a manager and whatever. I had a lot of people working there. And I figured, okay, I'll take 3 months off and I'll come to Vegas and I'll run the show.
yeah,
And we got the best Las Vegas show award from the Review Journal after a 3-month run.
yeah.
And I got an award from Tony. And it was a very successful show. And that was April of 2002. May of 2002, I lost 200 pounds.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah. I lost 40, and I left her behind.
Stop it.
Yeah, I was in a very bad marriage. And I decided, you know what? I really like Vegas.
Yeah,
I'm going to see if I can make it work here. And I've been coming to Vegas since 1970,
Yeah.
in and out
Yeah.
with Tony,
Yeah.
doing shows. And I hated it. I didn't like Vegas. I never liked Vegas.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I lived here for 3 months. I lived at the Golden Nugget for 3 months.
Nice.
Yeah. It was all carte blanche, meals, everything.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I got
So what happened to the jewelry business back in Chicago? You ended up selling it, or
No, I retired. In 2002, I retired
Okay.
from the jewelry business.
Oh, so you did that for a while, man. Wow. Okay.
And I just went here and I entered into. I did the music business full time.
Yeah.
And I was a producer. I was a manager. I was an agent.
Okay.
And I handled quite a few artists here in town. And it's been
Okay.
even entertainment here in this town has changed.
So you've helped Tony run one of the biggest shows in the country, right?
Well, in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think that we could take from your experience running that and put it over here at Sticky Paw Studios? Is there anything that needs to change? Anything we can do better?
You're always making changes in any business. Every day, you come up and say, hey, this is not working. Let's change it.
Yeah.
We just made a change here.
Yeah.
We decided we're going to departmentalize. Our growth at Sticky Paw Studios has been, thank God, tremendous.
Right.
We're only open 2 years and 7 months, I think.
Yeah.
And from the first month, I'm glad I listened to John because this was John's idea.
Yeah.
I said, podcasting? What's podcasting?
Yeah.
He had to explain it to me. But once again, he says, I got an idea, Uncle Marvin. I need some money.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I listened. And he says, I got this idea about podcasting is the future. It's going to take the place of radio. It's going to take the place of TV.
Yeah.
You know what? He's 100% right.
Yeah.
It's going to take the place of radio. And it's going to take the place of TV.
Yeah.
So from the first month we opened here, it's made money.
Yeah. It's been
which
successful.
Is hugely unreal.
It's great for any business, right?
Any business.
Yeah.
Usually takes 3 years
Yeah.
to turn the business around. This was the first month it made money.
Yeah.
It made a lot of money,
Right.
but it made
It's profitable.
But it was profitable. You notice I carry 2 pens in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
What colors?
Red, black, for positive and negative.
I'm the CFO here.
Yeah.
I never want to use the red one.
Yeah.
But I carry it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, John has been excellent. He's a terrific salesman, John,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah.
He's also innovative. He's creative.
Yeah.
He knows how to talk to people.
Yeah.
People here love him.
Yeah.
I think, don't you think?
Yeah. Everybody I speak to loves him. Yeah.
He's a good kid.
Yeah.
Kid. He's not a kid at all.
Right.
He's my kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's terrific, and he's got some great ideas.
Yeah.
And so, to answer your question, in business, you're always making changes.
Right.
One thing doesn't work, you try something else. If something is working, why fix the wheel's not broken, why fix it?
Right.
But we've made a change here just a day or two ago. We decided that now that our growth has been enormous.
Right. Lots of shows coming out of the studio.
We do over 50 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
50 different shows a week here.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Our capabilities here are doing 150.
Yeah. It's going to be a tight schedule, though.
Tight
I'm not
schedule. Yeah. But we just decided to departmentalize.
Yeah.
We're going to have departments. Engineers are going to engineer.
Whoop, whoop. That's me.
Editors are going to edit.
Right.
Where we had people like her
Right.
doing everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Now we're going to specialize.
Yeah.
We just signed a deal with the city of Las Vegas.
Nice.
We instituted an apprenticeship program for the city. Excuse me. Where they are paying interns they're paying the interns to come work here.
To come work here.
And we just were the only podcast studio in the city, in Las Vegas area, that's doing this.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my doing.
Yeah. You did that. You hooked that up.
I hooked that up only because one of our podcasters, knew somebody who knew somebody from the city.
Right.
They brought them in as a guest
Right.
for their podcast. They introduced me. We started talking.
You sold them. Yeah, you did.
Hey, listen, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Yeah, but now we have interns now that are getting paid by the city,
Okay.
and they're getting paid nicely.
Okay.
And we're looking for more interns.
Right.
You know, this is a hell of a business to learn now. This is
Oh, this is the future. 100%.
the future.
100%.
If you look at your radio stations, they're in the toilet.
Yeah.
In the toilet.
Yeah.
Nobody's advertising on radio.
No. It's this. This is the future. 100%.
This is the future. Right.
Okay, so they're wrapping us up. I think we got like 5 more minutes. Got to ask you this question. You've got kids, you've got grandkids. How does Marvin want to be remembered? When they come back and they watch this show and they say, look, that's my dad, that's my grandfather. What, you got a message for them? How do you...
Yeah, I think I said it before. I'd like them to remember that the things I did in my life, if I did anything different,
They wouldn't be here.
they wouldn't be where they
So
are.
Marvin was the man who did what he had to do to survive. End of story.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you very
Marvin?
much. Oh, pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.
got it. It was my
Oh,
pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you. You got it, Lana?
I got it.